Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, man, as y'all coming in. Thanks a lot so I can continue to bring y'all content like this. Hello, this is Waverly coming back at you with another episode on Goodfella Podcast Media. Tonight we have here Rene Michelle. How you doing?
I'm good, and you?
All right. And she's here to tell her story.
Yep.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, finally.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. I am actually born. I was born here in Lexington Park, Norris Road. I left here when I was 10. Was raised in Philadelphia, and then eventually came back here later on as an adult. But I am a national advocate against domestic violence and sexual assault, as well as a survivor of both. Do you want me to just get into my story?
Sure.
Okay. So as early as I can remember, the earliest that I can remember was 5. I was molested by several family members. I was raped at the ages of 11, 14, and 26. I eventually met this young man who I thought was going to save me from all my past trauma and pain and all that. I thought he was going to be my knight in shining armor, and he ended up being more like a nightmare. Wow. He was a professional boxer, actually, and he was really nice in the beginning. He held the door. He was a perfect gentleman. And then after like a 2-month period, I started noticing changes in him. And I want everybody to pay attention to the things I'm about to mention to you because they're signs of an abusive personality. He started to tell me what to wear, what not to wear, where I could go, where I couldn't go. He would check my phone. Like he literally, I couldn't move without him. He scheduled his work around mine. So whenever I was at work, he would be at my job. I managed a restaurant and lounge. So he would come to my job and sit there and watch me. If anyone talked to me longer than he thought they should, he would start a physical altercation with them. Wow. And it got to the point where he got barred from my job. And then he started calling my job and telling me to leave the phone off the hook so he could hear everything that was going on. Oh, wow. And needless to say, that didn't last. He then started standing outside of my job and waiting for me to get off. All of these things that were happening, you probably would think that I would know that these are signs of abuse because I am a second-generation domestic abuse survivor as well. I grew up watching my father abuse my mother, but it was either that I didn't want to see the signs or I just didn't pay any attention. But after the verbal abuse, the mental abuse, he started being, emotionally abusive to me, and then the physical abuse came in. And I honestly can remember it. The first time he hit me like it was yesterday, I told him I wanted to go to the store. And like I said, I couldn't go anywhere. Literally, my apartment was diagonally across from his, and we could look at each other from each other's apartment. Mm-hmm. I couldn't even walk to my own apartment without him. That's how, crazy he was. So this particular night, I said, I want to go to the store. He said, okay, go ahead and come right back. I was shocked, but I went ahead and I came back about 15, 20 minutes tops. By the time I got back, I knocked on the door where he lived with his sister, his brother-in-law, and their twins, who were 5 at the time. He opened the door and he immediately grabbed me by my hair and he drugged me past his sister, his brother-in-law, and their twins while they sat and watched television. No one got up, no one said anything, no one did anything. He drugged me back into his room where he slept, and he beat me, bloody.
Wow.
And when he got finished beating me, he picked me up by my hair, and he stood me up, and he turned me around, and he looked at me and said, you know you're not leaving me, right? And out of fear, I said no. He said, good, because if you do, this is what's going to happen. He took his gun, and he put it up to my head. From that day forth, he began to make Russian roulette a regular part of my life to keep me in fear. Wow. And it worked. I was so afraid of this man. anything he told me to do, I did it. It was like I was no longer Rene. I was just like a robot or something. And it got to the point, now the cat's out the bag. Now I see him for who he really is. So now he's beating me in public.
Wow.
This one particular day, we went to Union Station. We caught the bus. And he would just randomly out of nowhere, just like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So on the way there, we were fine, talking, everything. On the way back, somewhere along the way, he caught an attitude. So we're coming back and we're getting off the bus to make our next connection. And he starts walking ahead of me. So I'm like, Lord, this guy tries to talk to me. And I'm like, no, please, just like get away from me. And the guy, you know, he turns around and he says like, what are you trying to talk to my girl for? Starts arguing with the guy. The only thing that I could think to do was run because I already knew what it was. So I tried to run and he caught up with me. I had a bag with some boots in it and I had another bag with some clothes in it. He snatched the bag that had my boots in it and he drew back and hit me in my head. And I literally know, I don't know if you ever been hit and it's like you see stars, that's real. I literally saw stars and I just shook it off and I ran. I ran to the guy in the booth and I said to him, sir, please call the police. My boyfriend is beating me. He runs up behind me and tells the guy, oh, don't pay no attention to her. She forgot to take her medication today. So the guy looks at me and he looks at him and he's like trying to decide. I said, sir, if you don't call the police and something happens to me, you're going to be held accountable. He said, look, dude, if you leaving, leave, you know, because I'm going to call the cops. So he did. Needless to say, the police didn't get, my aunt beat the police there. So my aunt took me home, and when I got home, like I said, I worked at a restaurant and lounge. A couple days went by, I didn't see him. I believe that he was afraid because he told me if I ever called the cops on him, he would kill me. If I left him, that he would kill me. And if I got any of my family or friends involved, he would not only kill me, but he would kill them. So strike one. The cops were called on him. So the first day went by, I didn't hear anything. He didn't, you know, he used to break into my apartment and nothing. I came home from work. I would literally walk through my house when I got home. I would walk through my house and look through each one of my rooms to make sure he wasn't there every day. Like for 3 days. On the third day, I walked in my house and I'm looking through my room and I get to my bedroom. I open my door and there he was kneeling at my door, crying, apologizing, and then I look up on my dresser and his gun was sitting there. The only thing that I could think at that time was, God, please take care of my family because I'm going to die tonight. So I literally just did whatever he said. I just laid there, I did whatever. I didn't go to sleep. I just laid there all night. I stayed up. And I'm going to be honest with you, I prayed. And I didn't have much faith in God. Because I'm like, where was God when I was being molested? Where was he when I was being raped? And where is he now? Like, so I didn't have much faith in God, but with faith I did have, I prayed that night. I stayed up the whole night and I prayed. And I said, God, if you get me out of this situation alive, I promise I will do anything. So the next day, now mind you, with domestic violence, isolation is real. Nobody came to visit me for over 1.5 years. No one. Nobody. So this particular day, the following day, I'm at his apartment. I'm looking, like I said, I could see my apartment from his. I happen to be looking out the window and I see 2 females standing at my door. And I'm like, oh my God. I didn't say anything to him. I said, I'm gonna run to my apartment and be right back. And he said, okay, again, which was shocking. When I say I ran like a free slave, when I got over there, they were in a car pulling off. I chased the car down. It happened to be 2 of my cousins that are from here. They just randomly said, let's go check on Rene today. After 1.5 years, I said, don't ask any questions. Grab anything that looks important and run. Right. We each ran into my apartment, grabbed a handful of my clothes, and I ran for my life. And I didn't look back. But when I left, I didn't leave alone. I eventually found out I was pregnant by my abuser. I now have a beautiful 33-year-old daughter by my abuser. And as I sit here before you today, I also suffer with grand mal epileptic seizures due to severe blows to my head at the hand of my abuser. But I'm alive. I'm alive. And I know for a fact that it was not for nothing, because that day when they flew me away, they flew me to Baltimore Shock Trauma, they lost me and resuscitated me. And I know for a fact that God did not blow air back into my lungs for me to just sit back and be quiet about everything that I had endured. Not just at that point, but all my life. So at that point, I said, I have to do something. I got to speak up. I can't keep being quiet. So this one particular night, I was sitting in my house and I could not go to sleep for nothing. And I'm gonna say God was telling me, no, now is the time for you to say something, for you to speak. So that particular night, I had a Facebook page and all that. I had never done a group or anything like that. That night, I started this group. It's called Domestic Violence Love Don't Hurt. I literally sat on there and typed everything that happened to me from the age of 5 until that point. Nobody had ever heard my story before that day. And I pushed them. At that point, everybody, it was just like fireworks. Radio stations, TV, everybody was calling me to come to speak on their, to share my story. My family members were like, what? Like, you always happy, you always making everybody laugh, and that's what we do, to cover up. I'm wearing the best hair, everything, to cover up the mess that was inside. Nobody knew what I had endured until that day. And then, I finally got rid of all that mess, and it was like 1,000-pound weight lifted off of me. From that point on, I started sharing, everywhere. Like I said, TV, radio, whatever. And I actually, remember I told you when I told God that night, if he got me out of that situation alive, that I would do anything.
Right.
I literally meant what I said by that, because right now, I actually am a national advocate against domestic violence and sexual assault. I'm one of the top advocates in the DMV against domestic violence and sexual assault. I have 4 books now. I just put out a children's book. I went to the House of Delegates, shared my story, and I've gotten 3 bills passed against domestic violence.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I have a podcast as well. I'm just doing everything that I possibly can do to try to make sure nobody has to go through what I went through. I don't know if you all are familiar, but you may be. My cousin Shay Taylor, that was my second cousin that got murdered here. Wow. I'm her voice, like my mother. My mother was silent for 17 years. I'm her voice. I am the voice for anyone, not just females. Males get abused as well.
That's true.
It's not just one-sided. And I don't play those games. Is no discrimination. And, it's just wrong. Anyone that does that is not right, whether it's a female or male. And I'm their voice. Whoever has not found the strength to step up and speak out about what's going on with them or what has happened, I feel like I give people courage, to speak up. And that's what it's all about. And that's exactly why, I'm here today. And that's why I've been doing everything that I've been doing thus far since 2012. I've done so much, but I don't even want to feel like I'm bragging, because it ain't even about bragging. It's about just letting you know, I just received a humanitarian award for all the work that I do in the community, a doctorate degree. And, I've done a lot. I've done movies, playing myself, Rene Michelle, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But the main thing that I love is that when I can help someone, I've helped some of my family members get out of those situations. So when I can help anyone get to safety, I have a nonprofit. It's called Pain to Purpose. And what I do is if you call me 12 o'clock tonight and say, whatever, I need you, I need a place to go. If I can't get you into a safe house, then I put you into a hotel until I can. So that's what my organization does, along with trying to help you to get back on your feet. Because like I said, when I left, I ran for my life. I left everything except except for 3 handsful of clothes.
Right.
So, and that happens a lot, you know what I mean? So I have clothes, I have, phones, whatever you may need, in order for you to get back on your feet. I go to court, I'm an advocate. So I go to court with you, and in any way that I can, I support. So, that's basically what my organization and what I'm about now. That's my purpose now. So,
Great.
yeah.
Wow, that is great.
Yeah, I know. Look, I sound like BJ now. I'm rambling. But it's all good. It's all good.
When did you first realize that it was something wrong in your relationship? Like, when did you first realize it?
I realized it, like I said, it was 2 months.
It was 2 months.
2 months after he started just being like totally different than what he was at first. He started like being controlling, everything I did. He didn't want me around my family. That's how the isolation started. My cousin lived around the corner. He ended our relationship because he never wanted me to do anything with her. So she just started staying away. So that was part of it, just the controlling and checking my messages, and, just that was the beginning of it, So yeah, 2 months out.
Wow. What helped you survive during the most difficult times?
I'm going to be honest with you. I did not, like I said, I didn't have faith in God. And right now, at this moment, I can honestly say that God was what helped me. All that time I thought that he didn't have me and he wasn't protecting me. The whole time I'm like, where were you? Where were you? He was carrying me. He was carrying me, that little 5-year-old girl. He was carrying me through all that mess. Because for me to have been through everything that I've endured since 5, I still have all my faculties. I'm not crazy. I'm not on medication. I'm not, I'm a federal officer for the Department of Defense. I have a lot going on, and I'm still sane. So it was God is what got me through all of that. Back then I didn't think so, but now I know better.
Now you know.
Yeah.
That was God.
Yeah.
That's great. Were there moments that you wanted to give up, and what pulled you through?
Whew. Yeah, it was a lot of those moments. There was a lot of those moments because, like I said, he was a professional boxer at the time. I'm kind of thick now, but back then I was like 120, and he was diesel. He was like, he's a DC professional boxer, so he was big and he was strong, and like he randomly would we could be walking up the steps. I'm behind him. He would uppercut me back up the steps out of nowhere for nothing. In my mind, for nothing, but I don't know what he was thinking. But those are the type things that I had to endure. But like I'm just thankful that I'm here. That I'm here right now. Yeah.
How did the abuse? How did it affect your mental health?
It affected me tremendously. To be honest with you, the physical abuse was not as bad. 80% of people that are abused don't have scars, and that other 20% do. And I'm a part of both of those because I had, the scars, and then I suffer from epilepsy, which people can't see. But yeah, so that's the thing. Yeah, that's it. Now, can you repeat that question again? I got lost for a minute.
Oh, yeah, I said, how did the abuse affect your mental health?
Oh, yeah, it did. It affected me really mentally. It affected me really, really bad because all of those bruises and stuff, they finally faded, and then, mentally, sometimes if I smell a certain cologne, if I hear a man's voice escalated, it triggers me. And I'm healed for the most part, but I still have triggers, and I probably will for the rest of my life. Anybody that goes through any type of trauma, that's what happens.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. What were your first steps you took towards healing?
Me finally speaking out. That was the very first step. Me finally saying something. I mean, to be a child, you don't know as a 5-year-old that you're not supposed to be having sex, that's something that, you don't know that. It doesn't feel right. It's weird, whatever. But, you just don't know. And me finally speaking out and sharing my story for the first time, like I said, in 2012, was the beginning of my new life. Because I suffered in silence from 5 up until that point.
Right.
And then from that point, it was like a new birth, because I finally got it out and I just felt free. And then my healing process was helping other people. So that's what gives me that's what does it for me to help other people to get, what they need, that's what helps me.
How important was family therapy or faith in your recovery?
Family, like I said, a lot of people, nobody knew I carried it. So when they found out, everybody was in shock. Everybody, my brother, everybody, some of the people that hurt me themselves wanted to actually hurt the person that hit me. At any rate, so therapy is definitely a must. It's a must because a lot of the things that I am learning in therapy, but I found out, which is a no-brainer, that I suffer from PTSD. And that's anybody that goes through trauma. Of course, I just found out that I suffer from PTSD and several other things. But therapy has helped me out a lot. It's helped me to get over a few things that I didn't think that I can get over. Just push them away and not think about them anymore. Therapy has helped me a lot. So I would advise anybody that's going through any type of trauma to definitely get therapy.
What would you say to other women who are scared to speak out?
I would say the first thing that I would say is don't just leave. Because a lot of people have a habit of why are you staying or just leave, right? That type of mentality. That's not what I would ever advise anybody to do. If you are going to leave, make sure you have a plan. You can't just jump up, because if I had left, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. Tried to leave, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. I'd probably be dead. Like I said, my cousin Shay, she left. She's dead. You know what I mean? You have to have a plan, a strategy. You can't just, especially if you're dealing with somebody that's not in their right state of mind, that is, that has trauma from their past, their self. And I found out later that was his issue, my abuser. So, you definitely have to make sure you have a plan, an escape plan. Take some, like if you have children or anything like that, get their copies of their social security numbers, just put stuff away outside of the house. Leave it at work. Slowly take some clothing out, things like that. But don't make it to the point where it's so obvious where you're going to end up getting yourself caught up in, so.
I guess you already covered that. How you deal with triggers or moments that bring back memories of your abuse.
Yeah, I just ride the wave. I can't, it's really nothing I could do about it because it's going to happen. I can't just go around and, like I'm going to smell certain colognes. I'm going to hear people. I can't say, I can't control people. So I have to deal with it. So I've learned to deal with it. You know what I mean? I try to remove myself from any type of situations or places that would cause any type of thing like that. Or if it happens, if someone's arguing, I try to remove myself from that situation. I have to protect me. So that's what I do.
It's true. You have to protect yourself.
Yeah.
What, you might already cover this, but what inspires you to start speaking out publicly about your story?
What inspired me to, I got to the point where tired wasn't even the word. I felt like if I held on one more day, I was going to explode. Like literally, I basically was tired of being quiet. I got so tired of being quiet that I just felt like I have to say something right at this moment. And that's when I did. Yeah.
Let me see. How has sharing your story helped your own healing process?
It helped it tremendously. Is the reason why I'm healed is the fact that I started sharing my story, and that's what I tell anybody. If you have anything that you went through, whether it's childhood sexual assault, molestation, incest, whatever, when you release it and get it out, it's embarrassing. Nobody wants to sit around and tell their business. You know, back in the day, they like, what happens in the house stays in the house. That's what we grew up on. We can't allow our kids to grow up on that. Right. We have to be the ones to break that chain. And that's what I did in my family. I broke the chain. I'm not, I'm talking. I'm letting people know what it is, so it won't continue. The cycle has to be broken. And if I hadn't said anything, it probably would have continued. Right. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. That's what I feel like. We have to continue to talk about it, no matter whether it's domestic violence, sexual assault, or whatever. We have to talk about it so people will know that it's not okay, and I'm not going to be quiet, and I'm not going to allow you to touch me anymore, and so on and so forth. And if they see that they can't get away with it with you, and that you're finally speaking out, that little niece or whoever's coming up behind you, they're not even going to go there.
That's true.
So.
True. What's the most powerful reaction or message you receive from others who've heard your story?
Like I said earlier, a lot of people say when I share my story, it gives them the strength. And a lot of people come to me and they say, oh my God, I had the same thing happen to me, but I just never talked about it. Mm-hmm. It gives people the courage. Because I know men, my ex, that's why he was so abusive, because he was molested.
Wow.
Yeah, and that I found that's that's what's happening with a lot of men that are aggressive and abusive. They've been molested and been touched, and things have happened to them in their childhood. And as a man, you feel like, I can't talk about that, that y'all have this stigma. Mm-hmm. And no, you can talk about it. It's not okay, whether you're a man or not. And you're still going to be a man after you've confessed whatever happened to you. Right. That's what's going to cause you to heal. Mm-hmm. That's what's going to cause you to heal from your past. And see, with him, he's dead now. My daughter's father is dead. They found him in his apartment. To this day, we still don't know who killed him. And and it's sad because I forgave him. I forgave him, and I forgave everybody else that did everything that was done to me. And I had to forgive them in order for me to heal, because I would have been sitting around here bitter and angry and mad at the world. So I had to, that was my first steps, was to forgive everybody that did everything. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all. I wanted to kill him. Right. I'm not even gonna lie. I wanted him dead and several other people. But what was that gonna solve? You know what I'm saying? If I and honestly, I have a daughter by him, like I said. My daughter didn't even know. My daughter watched me. She grew up watching me have grandma seizures. She grew up seeing her mother, go through that, not even knowing until she was 18 that her father was the cause of it. Because I didn't see where me dogging her dad was going to be beneficial to her. I'm not going to talk about my daughter, my daughter's father negatively to her. And I don't advise anybody to do that. Mm-hmm. Whatever was between him and I, we grown. Mm-hmm. Had nothing to do with my child. So I never talked negatively about him to her. Mm-hmm. What ended up happening, how she found out, was she was 18, like I said. Mm-hmm. When I ran, I didn't allow him to see her or anything. She was 10, and she asked me, I showed her pictures and all that. And she said on her 10th birthday, I asked her what she wanted for her birthday. She said, I want to meet my dad. And I was like, oh no. Oh, that's the hard one right there. I said, I try not to, look too frightened or whatever, but I said, okay, all right, okay. So I contacted the aunt, mm-hmm. that he lived with. I still had contact with her. And I said, your niece wants to meet you and she wants to meet her dad. And I'm still frightened. And she said, oh, well, look at God, because he done got saved, child, and all this and that. And she was like, so just bring her up so we can, we can meet her or whatever. So I began taking her to the aunt's house, not him right away, to the aunt so she could meet her cousins and all them. And then eventually he started coming over and everything. Mind you, I'm still scared.
Right.
But this is what my daughter wants. So, and I'm going to say this. He was a horrible boyfriend, but he was a great father. My father was the same way. I was a daddy's girl. My daddy used to whip the dog crap out of my mother, and I hated that part about him. But my dad was the best father on the planet, and I had to separate. I was my daughter at that point. So I had to separate the two. I couldn't be angry and bitter and deprive her of her good father. So that's why I did what I did. A lot of people are like, you crazy. He was beating you. He would have never saw. That's you.
Right.
That's you. My daughter, I handled it differently, and I'm glad I did. When she turned 18, that's when God planned it for her to know that he was the cause of me to have seizures, because she went away. She was visiting from 10 to 18. She was going back and forth to visit him on her own. And she finally came out and said, Mom, I'm not going to see him no more. I'm tired of him, because every time I go around him, he's talking about you. And I'm like, what? She said, yeah, he's talking negative about you. I was so mad. I was so pissed because I never said anything about this man to my daughter. I called him and I said, why are you talking negatively about me to my daughter? We going back and forth. When I say that ugly monster reared his head on that phone and my daughter heard it. So I didn't have to say anything. See how God planned it? He didn't. Everything I said, I was so pissed. I said, so did you tell your daughters, while you talking about me, did you tell her that you're the reason why I have epilepsy? And I said, oh my God. My daughter looked at me and was like, what did you just say, Mom? Wow. And I was like, oh no. I literally was driving through the Baltimore tunnel and it was doing 100 miles an hour to get my kids to safety because I was going into a seizure. Wow. They remember all that. And that's what she said. She said, you mean to tell me we almost died coming through the Baltimore tunnel and it was because of him? I couldn't even say anything. I was just like, and then he said to me, see what you did. Now you got my daughter mad at me, whatever. At that point, my daughter said, Mom, I know you got a good heart and everything, but I don't have anything else to say to him. I'm done. I'm not saying, I don't have nothing to say to him. So, she was upset with him for a while. I talked to her. I sat her down and I said, look, has your dad ever done anything to hurt you? She said, no, ma'am. I said, has he hit you? Has he been mean to you? No, ma'am. Okay. What your dad and I went through had nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. I chose him. So that was between him and I. It had nothing to do with you. So, unless your dad is abusive to you or does something to harm you, then that's your dad.
Right.
So you respect your dad.
That's true.
And that's how that went. It took a couple years, but she finally, I think he got sick or something and she went to the hospital with her sisters or whatever. But yeah, she ended up making amends with him before she died. He met his grandkids and all that. Before he died, rather. And like I said, they found him dead in his apartment. And we still, to this day, don't know who killed him or why, but I don't know. I don't know. A lot of people's like, karma, because he literally was abusive to all of his baby moms, and it was 5 of us. So, I don't know.
Crazy.
But...
What changes do you hope to see in how society supports victims and survivors?
Well, since I've started on this journey, I have helped to get a lot of change. Like I said, I've spoken at the House of Delegates. I've helped to get 3 bills passed. The one bill that I helped to get passed was the one, if you are renting renting a property and you're involved in a domestic violence situation, you can break your lease and be clear and free. The other one is if there's any children that are involved in the household during a domestic violence dispute in the state of Maryland now, it's considered a felony. So that's whether it's mama or daddy, it don't matter. You're going to jail, and it's considered a felony now. Also, the other one is the strangulation bill. I just helped get that passed, and yeah. So, I hopefully we're gonna continue to try to make changes, but with things the way they are right now, with all this stuff to shut down, because I'm going through it myself. This is where the highest rate of domestic abuse is starting because people are at home. A lot of people are at home. They can't go to work. Mm-hmm. So now it's escalating right now, and it's unfortunate.
It is.
Yeah.
What does strength mean to you now?
Strength?
Yes.
It means everything to me because, without me being strong, if I had not had the strength to finally say what I needed to say and speak up, I don't know where I would be right now. I probably would be dead, because either stress, depression, something. But because I spoke up and I stood up, it gave me, even more strength. And then the people, my followers, the people that I've helped, they give me strength and they give me encouragement, and they make me feel like all of this stuff that I went through was for nothing, because I honestly believe that God knows what you're going to be and who you're going to be from the second that you are in your mother's womb. He already planned all of this, was predestined for me to go through, to get beat, to get molested, to get raped, so I can help somebody else. Mm-hmm. So this is not even about me. Right. It's not about me. It's about me helping the next person, to get out of, or not to prevent. I go to schools. I've spoken in just about every school in DC and PG County. I've spoken in schools in Charles County as well. I just finished my children's book, which is a book about sexual assault. Actually, on the front of my cover is my teacher from Greenview Knolls, because that's when, back then, I shared a little bit without her knowing I was sharing it as a child in second grade. And on the cover of my book is me as a little girl and my second grade teacher. And it tells you about good touch, bad touch, and all of that stuff. Something that I didn't have back then. If I had that, I probably would have spoken up a long time ago. So that's the book that I just self-published. Mm-hmm. It just aired. It just went live last week. So it's on my website and everything. So I'll make sure you get all that.
Please do. Please do. Thank you. If you could speak to your younger self, what would you tell her?
I would tell her that it was not your fault. Anything that you went through, it was not your fault. And that wow, that's a hard question. I would definitely say it's not your fault at all, because for a long time I blamed myself for a lot of things. And I'm like, I finally woke up and realized that, no, Rene, you can't blame yourself. These people did these things to you. Right. So none of this was your fault. Right. So guilt is gone. But I would just tell myself to just keep being strong, because obviously I was a beast even back then. Yes. As a child. I carried all of that luggage as a 5-year-old. So just keep being the strong person that you were born to be. Yep.
What message do you want to leave with anyone listening or who might be in similar situations?
I would tell them that if they are in a situation, like I said, make sure that if you're trying to leave the situation, make sure that you have a plan, a strategy. And I have, they can reach out to me, because that's what I do. That's some of the things that I do. I help people get out of those situations without, getting harmed or whatever. And if they're being sexually assaulted, the same thing. Tell somebody. You know, I also do a parenting class at the University of Maryland from the perspective of a child that was abused, and I tell them all the time, unless you want your children to turn out like me and go through and endure what I endured,
Right.
pay attention to your children or somebody else will. And it ain't gonna, it might not be nice.
Right.
My mother was being beat. She didn't have time to pay attention to me. She had 5 kids. My dad was the abuser. He was played in a band. You know, my dad was the man. He was never home. And when he was abusing my mom. So I was that child that was lost. Nobody paid attention. I'm the baby girl. So, you know, she got 5, she trying to heal her bruises and then take care of 5 kids and keep the house clean so she won't get beat when you know, and all that. So pay attention to your children. If you see the slightest change in your daughter, if she's one day she's just being this sweet little girl, the next day she's wearing tight shorts and cut stuff, you know, pay attention to your child. Ask questions because nobody paid attention. And all of these things were happening right in front of their face. If somebody had asked, Rene, what's going on with you? I see, you know, you dressing differently, you're acting differently. Then maybe back then I could have gotten help. And that's why I say pay attention to your children, you know, because that way, that's the only way you're going to save them. You know? Yeah, that's about it.
Go ahead and wrap this up. But how can people contact you again? Oh, yeah.
I'm on every social media. There is Rene Michelle, RENE accent MICHELLE. On Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, everything is Rene Michelle. Also, my website is on there as well. So I have everything. All my upcoming events, my books, my, you know, everything is on my Facebook page. Rene Michelle.
Well, Rene Michelle, it's been a pleasure.
It's a pleasure meeting you too in person.
Likewise. Thank you for being that voice and strong and everything.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Please like, share, subscribe, and comment so we can continue to bring you content like this. Thank you.